Good morning, traders. It is Wednesday, July 24th. Uh, Starting off here, we'll just start with yesterday afternoon's update in the market. Let's just jump down to the SP500. So we are long SSO, and yesterday I was showing just some short-term price action, just from a technical standpoint, because it's really interesting how the market moves. But more or less, we had a first rally up on the 22nd, and we had a pullback. And once you have that, you can use a Fibonacci extension to get an upside target, which is this green line, number one. And of course, the market had gone up and moved there, and then we got a larger consolidation. And once you get that second consolidation, we can throw a second Fibonacci target, which is the pink lines, and it gives us our upside target on the upside. Now, overall, there's a red hashtag, which means if the market was to pop yesterday very quickly into that level, the market would be short-term overbought, and you can usually expect some type of pause or pullback. Now, it's also two previous highs on the chart, so that will be resistance as well. And the market's always seeking nominal new highs or nominal new lows. So you can see here, more or less, the market would come up and just break these two previous highs, and it would tag that target area and most likely go into some type of pullback. But if it does break these levels, we could see some pretty big short covering in the market and an upward bias going forward. It would be a short covering rally. I think a lot of people are short, expecting the market to roll over here, and by breaking these two previous pivot highs and extending up, that would signal a half decent move to the upside. Now, I didn't put this on this chart, but if you look at the pattern here, we've got a W formation, which you can argue is a double bottom as well. And typically when you get a W formation, the distance from the top of the W to the bottom, that would be the breakout power to the upside going forward. So obviously it'd be a pretty decent move in the SP or SSO. If it was to break out, it looks like it'd be roughly a $2.50, $3 pop to the upside, which would be a nice move if we get that momentum follow through. Now let's take a look over at crude. Crude, we are short. It's under a little pressure right now, but overall it's got bearish formation. We've seen waterfall sell-off happen before. We found support and it had a little bear flag and then broke down for the second half of that move. Now at this point we've gone from a downtrend and then it reversed to the upside, pulled back, and then last week we saw it come down to support. Some extra news came in, broke support, turn the momentum from a bullish bias to the upside to now it is bearish, and we are bouncing up into resistance with a bear flag here, and we could easily see this come back down and test these lows we saw in June. Looking over at gold, here is the chart of gold. We're kind of rising on this little this bullish wedge here. This morning, I'll show you the charts in a minute, the live charts, but this morning we're seeing a bounce off this area. We're getting squeezed, and the only concern here is general rule is when you get a bullish pattern, you really want to see it break out, usually within the first 2/3 of the time. If it goes right into the apex, the more something goes into the apex, the stronger the breakout's going to be, but a lot of times it actually fails and we see a flush down to the downside before potentially starting to come back up and rally. So I'm not a huge fan of price getting squished into the wedge, into the apex. We'll see how things go, but overall I still am anticipating some type of flush out and before it really picks up to the upside. But again, still holding a bullish pattern, and it's making a series of higher lows and higher highs and ready to pop. So let's go over to the live charts here. Here is the same chart of gold, but real time. You can see we're having a little bounce today, pushing up above this blue line, fairly significant. We'll see if point in the chart here that if it can start to hold this level, really has to hold above these 3 bars here that all closed around the same price. If we can get above that, that would be a good sign, and hopefully we'll see this continue to extend to the upside. Looking at silver, silver stretching its way up. It had that big pop day. More or less it's inside this kind of bar day, and we might see it poke up, but overall I am anticipating that we're going to see some type of quick pull down. Usually we see what goes straight up will usually come back down and give back a good chunk of those gains. So the fact that it's got this inside bar, here is this big day, It's kind of grinding its way up here. We'll see how it plays out, but overall, again, still very bullish, but I feel as though the markets are going to have some type of shakeout. Everybody can't just pile in and then just keep buying it. Usually we see a pullback and to shake out all the people more or less that get in up here. Usually it's got to go down and shake them out and somewhere over here before it goes higher. Looking over at gold miners real quick, GDX, GA holding up still really nicely in this very tight momentum formation. But again, I still think we're going to have a little bit of a shakeout in the market. You can see how you get a shakeout over here, you get a shakeout over here, right after some strong moves. You get a nice pullback, a consolidation, and then a shakeout. A strong move, pullback, big gap down. This type of day here scares most people out of the market. A big gap down, sells off near the lows. And here we are now. We've had a nice run up, and the big question is, are we going to get some type of shakeout low over here in the next little bit? Looking over at crude real quick, up 0.4%. If we look at this pattern here, you can see we're kind of ping-ponging between these blue levels, more or less support and resistance. And we've got it gapped higher today, selling down a little bit. We're really looking for this to pick up speed in the next 1 or 2 days to the downside. Test these lows, a break of this low, we are going to go down to the 50 level, and our inverse ETF for crude should pop and really start to rally. If we actually look at the SCO, you get a better view of where we are. More or less, it's faded down. We've had some pops of some strong sell-offs in the market, and then a fade, and then it kind of shakes out. It's had a pop. It's forming this bullish formation, looking for a pop back up into this 21 to 22 range. Last but not least, let's just go the SP500. I put some bigger cycles on here based on the last significant low. If we just go forward, you can see when you get into somewhat of cycle lows in the market, you start to get volatility in the price. You start to get big swings in the market. It's sell-offs, rallies, sell-offs, same type of thing. So we're still not there yet. We're still a ways away from getting into some big volatility. The big question is, are we going to kind of roll over and start to sell off, or are we just going to get into some volatility where it has a pullback and rallies going forward? But overall, still in this bullish bias. This could continue to go up, but at any point here, we do need to know we're getting to a point here where we're likely going to see a more significant pullback of some sort. Anyways, that's it for this morning. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.